Good evening. Good evening. How are you guys? It is the final day of Monday, and I feel like after January, which we know feels like the longest month of the year, weren't we just about to celebrate Valentine's Day? Didn't we just celebrate Valentine's Day? And now it's about to be the end of the week. Wild, okay? It's about to be the end of the month. Time flies. Time flies. I think we saw that in COVID. Time flies, time waits for no man, and it is crazy. So I am just really quickly sharing out my link and then I'll get started. Feel free to tag someone who may be interested in joining this conversation. Let them know they need to tune in. They can catch the replay or they can catch me live right now. Either way, I'm glad you're here. Appreciate you. Appreciate you liking, tagging, and sharing. And then we're going to get started in literally 60 seconds. And my software is still not letting me go live from my business page. So here I am on my personal Facebook page again, which more of you seem to watch from here anyway. So that's fine. That is fine. Alrighty. So let's get into it. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Shana Edgecombe, Shana E. I am a pricing and positioning strategist. If you see me looking over in the corner randomly, that's because I'm just trying to make sure that I can see everything properly. I did not put on my AirPods. I hope my sound is decent to okay without my AirPods. Let me test it out and see. And I will try to respond to you guys as I go through if you drop live comments, but honestly, I usually don't see them until after I've already wrapped up and then suddenly I can see things. So, until after I've already. Oh, okay. My sound is okay. All right. Wrapped up and then my sound is all right. Lord, I pray that the internet stays up because it's been a little weird today. Alrighty. So, as I said, I'm a pricing and positioning strategist. I am the lead consultant with TREP Consulting. I am the owner of that business. So, I work with entrepreneurs, small business owners. I've also worked with large corporations as well, but in various capacities in the past that would have included marketing, design, strategy. Okay. So I love working with MSMEs. Love them. They are the heart and soul of this country. I believe, I don't remember the statistics, so let me not say that, but the majority of businesses in the country are private sector. Majority of the private sector consists of micro, small, and medium enterprises. That's why I say that MSMEs are the heart and soul of this country. I wish we were treated better by the government, but that's a different conversation, not for tonight. But nonetheless, I have a passion for talking about marketing in the context of positioning. And even more, I have a passion for talking about pricing. And in my opinion, pricing and positioning go together, right? And so tonight, I want to talk to you about positioning because that's really what happens when we show up for our audiences. We are positioning ourselves. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about my background, I am a accredited small and medium enterprise consultant, ASMEC. Long acronym for that. I am a business consultant. I am also a floral designer. If y'all see me using my hand and you see me with a brace on my hand, Carpal tunnel is kicking me right now. So that's what I'm dealing with. But I have a view of like my brain is left and right. So I'm highly creative, but at the same time, I'm also like very logical, but not to the point where I like love numbers and love calculating numbers and things like that. But numbers are a part of pricing, they're the part of pricing, and the numbers have to make sense, right? And so I make do. I have had the opportunity to work with some amazing, amazing programs. They include the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs with the U.S. Embassy in Nassau, with the Canoe Innovation Hub with Canoe Pays and Crypto Isle in conjunction with Draper University. I have been able to work with the Royal Caribbean Kickstarter program for the Access Accelerator as well. So, and I've done other things as well, some of which I don't even remember to be honest. So, I love, like I said, I love working with MSMEs. I'm very passionate about making sure that we get paid well, that we get paid properly, that we get the respect that we deserve, that we are able to live off of our gifts and our talents. And a huge part of that is, well, two huge parts of that is one, how we position ourselves, how we choose to show up, and then also how we choose to price ourselves. The reality is that if you show up as if you're scrappy, as if you're scrapping, then that's not going to get the respect that you want and the respect that you deserve. Unfortunately, and it's human nature, we go off of appearance, we go off of impressions, we go off of perception, right? And so there's this thing now where, not now, but there's this perception of, okay, you're expected to look a certain way or you're expected to carry yourself a certain way, and if you don't, then you don't get the same amount of respect, right? And so we have to be mindful of that. I'm not saying not to show up as yourself, as your true authentic self. I'm just saying that, if you're gonna walk into the room as whatever you want to present yourself as, then be able to back that up, right? And I'm going to talk to you about how to do that a little bit later. But let's get started. So, a lot of us shrink ourselves. A lot of us shrink ourselves. And I had that thought earlier, and so I decided to talk about that tonight. A lot of us shrink ourselves. So, let me give you a few definitions of what the word shrink means. Shrink, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, says to become smaller or to make something smaller. Oxford Dictionary says shrink means to move back or away, especially because of fear or disgust. Merriam Webster says the word shrink in context suggests an instinctive recoil through sensitiveness, scrupulousness, or cowardice. Recoil through sensitiveness, scrupulousness, or cowardice. You all took note of the terms for shrinking, the definitions: to make yourself smaller, to move back or away from out of fear or disgust, to recoil out of sensitivity, cowardice, or scrupulousness. Many of us shrink out of fear, sometimes rational fear, justified fear, sometimes irrational fear. We shrink because we're afraid to be seen. We shrink because we don't want to be noticed or we don't want to be visible. We don't want to draw attention to ourselves. We shrink because we're unsure of ourselves. We feel a level of insecurity. We're not sure about what we're doing, about how to do it. Some of us feel naked if we make ourselves visible, and we don't want to come out of the shadows. We don't want to feel vulnerable, right? We maybe suffer from perfectionism, and I've been very, very open about my struggle with perfectionism and how I fall and get back on the wagon, right? And sometimes we just feel overwhelmed. We feel overwhelmed. One of the things about entrepreneurship, whether you are a part time entrepreneur or a full time entrepreneur, is, as I told someone last week, you don't have rules anymore. when you have a job, you know what your job description is generally. You should. Every employer is not a great employer, right? So sometimes you don't have a job description. But generally, almost every job has a job description that you know of, right? So you get to read it, you generally know what is expected of you. You have people that you report to, you have some type of structure in place. Now, with entrepreneurship, you provide the structure. You decide what it is that you do. You decide what does and doesn't get done by you, or not at all, or by someone else. There's no one now telling you what to do. You put in the checks and balances, and that can be a scary thing because, especially if you're transitioning into full time entrepreneurship, it is going to be hard because there's no one telling you what to do. There's no one, unless you have a mentor, for example, or a coach, there's no one telling you, hey, do this, not that. There's no one necessarily correcting you, right? And it could be scary because you're not sure what you're doing. Much of the time, we don't know what we're doing. It's trial and error, and that's scary because you could be standing at a crossroads and you could go straight, you could go left, you can go right. And in between straight, left, and right, there are other forks in the road that you can take. And all of them look wide open, but you're not sure of which path to take because it can have a big impact, right, on what happens next and what happens next. There is a lot of fear when it comes to entrepreneurship and small business, some for good reason, like I just discussed, right? But the reality is we rob ourselves when we don't show up. We rob ourselves when we shrink. Why is it important to show up? It's important to show up not just from a pricing perspective, right? But it's important because I believe in destiny, I believe in purpose. I believe that there are people who are relying on us to show up. Why? Because there are people who are watching us, watching you, watching me, and we are unintentionally or unknowingly being an inspiration for them. They are watching us push. They need to see someone push. They need to see someone maybe who looks like them or who feels like them or they could relate to us in some way, who is pushing and who is succeeding and who is pushing past obstacles, who is making it happen. You may be the one person that can make them feel like it's possible for them to whatever it is that they're trying to do. And so if you don't show up, you don't help that person um, get to the freedom maybe that they're supposed to get to. And yes, that is a responsibility. That's a heavy responsibility, but it's a very real responsibility. And sometimes it's not even a stranger, it could be your children, it could be your spouse, it could be your family, it could be your friends, it could be people in your circle who you are inspiring to keep pushing, right? There are things spiritually, generational curses, even. You know, if you stop, if you don't push, when are the curses going to be broken? If you don't show up, how are things going to change in your bloodline, in the generations? Customers need you to show up. There are people who, I know, for example, um, I'm not necessarily customers of these people, but some of them I am, and I watch them and I'm like, oh my gosh, if that person can do that, that inspired me to hope. There's this lady, her name is Regina. I mentioned her before. Her last name, Charles, y'all, Regina A. I'll call her Regina A. She's gotten married. I don't remember her last name now, but Regina, I want to say Anna Janeo, but I don't think it's that. She was the first person that I took note of who was who was an infopreneur. And that would have been back in like 2014. I think I came across her 2014, almost 10 years ago. And I remember sitting, just consuming her information. Like, y'all, she is such a wealth of information and she shared it so very freely. Like her newsletters, if you printed out her email newsletters, they would literally be enough for her to do a course, but she shared that information freely. And I remember one day saying to myself, I wish I could do this. Like, I love what she's doing. I wish I could do this one day. And then things happened. I began helping friends and people around me with their business stuff that they had going on. And I just remember thinking, I wish I could do this full time one day. And I remember Holy Spirit saying, no, I think I said, I wish I could be an infopreneur like Regina. And Holy Spirit said, but you're doing the exact same thing as she does. You're just not doing it online. And I sat back and I said, oh, wow. Because I did not make that connection that I was doing what she was doing until that revelation came to me. But yet, had I not seen her, I don't know that I would have thought about this path because she seemed very relatable. She didn't have an extraordinary background per se. Not necessarily coming from a whole lot of money and money background and all this stuff, but she felt relatable to me. And so there are people who are owners of yours, right? They may never buy from you or they might buy from you, but the reality is they need to see you. Their lives can be transformed by what it is that you're doing. I see one of my friends who is on right now. He just came on. Let me tell y'all something. Earlier today, I saw this video because I was trying to make a little bit of space on my laptop. I saw this video and I clicked play because I wanted to decide if I should delete it or not. And I said, "Oh my gosh." And I I called the two people over who were nearby and I said, "Y'all look at me in this video. Look at me." And they saw it and they said, "Wow." Can I tell y'all that I've been on a weight loss journey and this person has been like a huge part of that, my trainer. Um, and even when I didn't want to show up, even when I was like, listen, I don't think this is gonna ever. I don't think I'm ever gonna be in shape. I must need to go on some something. I must need to get some medication. I don't know, but he's always been encouraging. And the way that I look now and then, so different. I have a ways to go. I'm not ignorant of that fact. But it was the transformation. But if he had not showed up and said, you know what, I want to take a chance and I want to um, be a trainer and I'm going to learn and I'm going to open myself up to provide these services, then he would not have been here to help me on my journey. My journey may have looked very different. I may have been so discouraged that I didn't do anything, or I would have a start and stop, start and stop. Okay. So, because he showed up, that had a transformative impact on me. There are some of you who you need to decide to show up and understand that you can have a transformative you can have a transformative impact on other people. There are some of you who you need to open your mouths because people need to hear what you have to say. Now, before I go all the way down the rabbit hole, because I could talk about that some more, showing up also transforms the success of your business and your profits. Now, you could have the greatest product in the world. You could be the most amazing person, most amazing at whatever it is that you do. But the reality is, I think the saying is, if a tree falls in the forest, did it really make a sound? If no one was around to hear it? I think I butchered that. My bad. Y'all correct me in the comments. But essentially, it's if the tree falls in the forest, no one's around to hear the tree. Did the tree really fall? If you're providing services, if you're providing products, you don't tell the people about the products and services. The people don't know that they exist. What are you doing? Do you have a business? This is not me being petty. Y'all know I could be petty. This is not me being petty. This is me challenging some of you who need to hear this, right? Maybe you need to hear, like, hey, um, you need to get out there and you need to tell people about what it is that you do and stop being afraid of that. Because if no one knows what you're doing, people cannot find you to buy from you, right? People can't find you. And so if you're not making enough money, then the business cannot sustain itself, right? 80% of businesses fail in their first year of business. That's in the Bahamas. In the US, I think it's 70% fail in their first year. Of the 20% that do make it out of the first year, only, I think it's like only 20% make it to year 10. So we are starting businesses, most of which don't survive. And then we are not making it to the decade mark. Those businesses are the exception, not the rule. If you see a business that's been around for 20 years, 30 years, 100 years, they are seriously the exception, not the rule, right? And there's so many reasons for that. And one major reason in the first year is a lack of customers, lack of marketing, lack of sales. They all go together, okay? Now also, again, I said I like to talk about money and pricing, right? Showing up well, showing up properly, and I'm going to talk to you about how to do this, helps you at minimum charge what you need to charge. That's separate from charging what you want to charge to help you get to your goals and the vision that you want for your life. Now, why did I make the distinction between the two? Because in a business, at minimum, this is how you make profit, right? Let's say that it costs you $5,000 a month to run your business. That might be high. Let's say it costs you $2,500 a month to run your business. As soon as you're making $2,502, that $2 is profit. You know that at minimum now, your business needs to make at least $2,500 so that you are breaking even. Anything over that $2,500 is profit. So you need to know and be aware of the minimum amount that you need to charge for your products or your services. And whatever it is needs to meet $2,500 per month. Now, why do I say that's separate from charging what you need to charge to get to the goals and vision of your life? If your business is making $2,500 per month and you have $2,500 in business expenses, right? That's like doing 0 plus 0 equals what? 0. So you're not in the negative, you're not in the positive. Now, if you're collecting a salary from this business, you cannot be the sole cost for your business. Understand that you should be taking a percentage of what is happening or the sales and the revenue of the business, almost like you're an employee, right? So let me see if I can explain this a bit more clearly. If your business, as an example, is making $2,500 per month, and part of the cost of your $2,500 is maybe you making $300, no, that's a bit high, $200 per week. So that's $800 that you get out of the $2,500 as an employee, maybe as the only employee of the business. You should not be paying yourself $2,000 of the $2,500 that the business makes. Because what's going to happen is you're going to keep your business stagnant because you're taking out so much of it. And I understand, listen, trust me, I understand. When you're relying on your business to pay you solely, that's very tempting. I get it. I know, I've done it. It's very, very tempting. But it doesn't give much leeway for your business to do some things. There's not enough money to invest back in your business. There's not enough money to do the other things that you need to do. So you also, when you are calculating your prices, you have to consider, okay, well, this is how much I need the business to make for me as a percentage. This is how much, if I need staff or employees, that the business needs to charge so that I can afford employees. All of that, unfortunately, many of you do not consider. So a lot of times it's like, okay, I bought this item at $10, I'm going to sell it at $20. But how did you get to decide to just do a markup? How did you decide to do that markup? Did you consider all the other costs? Did you consider what happens if you decide to hire an additional person? Because now, if you decide to do all these things and take on an additional person, you can't afford to just charge $20. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go too deep into that. That's not what we're talking about tonight. Now, I've taken great strides, I think, in addressing my hesitancy to show up online and to show up in real life. For a very long time, many people did not know what I did. They know I do things, they know I was making money somehow, but did not know what I did because I didn't talk about what I did. I did not tell people what I did. I did not position myself to openly say, well, I'm a business consultant, or I'm a floral designer, or I'm this, or I'm that. I had people, still even now though, surprised that I do certain things. And my thing is too though, it depends on the environment, right? So if I am at a business conference, I'm not necessarily going to tell you that I'm also a floral designer, right? I think there's a time and a place if you do multiple things. But I do slip that in a bit more now, right? And so I had to go through this stripping process over the last several years that, hey, I have to show up and I have to do more showing up, right, in 2024 and beyond. Because the reality is that I am not made to be a wallflower. I am not made to kind of sit in the corner and I would love to. But I'm not allowed to, right? I'm not allowed to sit in the corner and just like chill and oh yeah, no one needs to know that I'm here. No one needs to pay attention to me. No one needs to see me, right? That's not what I'm called to do. And I can tell you that it's easier. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's easier when you accept when you're called and what you are called to do. That is the first step, and it is extremely helpful to accept that you are called and what you are called to do. Okay? There are some of you who are still wrestling with what God has told you to do. If you believe in God and you feel like He has spoken to you about the things that you're supposed to be doing, there are some of you who are wrestling. And I know from experience because I just kind of settled in my heart about certain things that would probably be about 2 years ago, because until then I was still saying to God no, and I was still saying I will not, and I was still saying but I'm not ready and I don't want to. The beautiful part, the beautiful one, the many beautiful things about God though is He will give you grace, and there will be a level of time that you get. Some of us get more, some of us get less, but the reality is that you get on board, babes. It's really just easier. It is easier because someone is going to bend. And I can tell you from experience, it'll have to be you because he will not bend. He will not bend. It will have to be you. And it's easier if you allow, like, it's literally easier if you allow him to bend you versus it being a bit more abrupt. Okay? All right. Let's see. My internet, y'all, sorry. My internet seems to be crappy. I'm trying to see. I'm trying to see how far back y'all are. Minimum. This is how you make profit, right? Let's say that okay. It costs you $5,000. Y'all are very far behind in my part in my versus what I'm saying now. Okay. Anyway, I can't do anything about that right now. All right. So let's talk about the strategies of how to show up. And then I'm going to give you concrete examples and ways to actually show up. One is be yourself, man. Be yourself. I know it's cliche. I know it sounds cliche, but I love this thing that Dr. Seuss says. It's in one of his books. It says, "Today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you." I love that. I've loved that since the day that I read that years ago. Today you are you, and that is truer than true. There is no one alive who is youer than you. Dr. Seuss said that, right? So authenticity looks like if you are a busy parent, a busy mom, a busy dad, if you are someone who has a full-time job and you're running this as a side business, it's literally okay to say that in your content. It's okay to talk about that a bit more openly instead of trying to appear like Superwoman and Superman. You are more relatable when people don't think that you have it all together. And people are more forgiving when you don't show up as if you have it all together. Okay? Decide to be consistent, whatever it is, whatever consistent means to you. If it means that, for example, you're going to go live once a month, or you're going to post on social media 3 times a week, or you're going to provide this particular service one day only, once a quarter, whatever it is, be consistent. Decide how you're going to be consistent. Remember, I said it's your business. It's your business. Can I say again? It is your business. And so, because it is your business, you get to decide how consistent you're going to be. You get to decide how you show up. If you're not okay with being on camera, then don't be on camera. If you prefer just to use your voice, just use your voice. Like, let's not make it difficult. Okay? What you excel at or what you decide that you can be consistent at, do that. Okay? Next up is know who you serve and who you're selling to. It's easier to show up when you know who you're showing up for, because then you know the type of communications that they prefer, you know the type of content that they prefer, you know how they prefer to consume whatever it is you do, you know how they prefer to shop from you, you know how they prefer to communicate with you. Do your research. It implies that you have to do your research, okay? The next thing is learn how to prioritize activities. There's this beautiful thing called reverse engineering. So, especially for those of us who are busy entrepreneurs, or you have a full time job and you're a part time entrepreneur or full time entrepreneur as well, know which business activities are going to get you the biggest results. There's something called the Pareto principle, right? It's the 80-20 rule, which says that um, 20% of your profits are going to come, no, sorry, 80% of your profits are going to come from 20% of your activities, right? It means that you might have a to do list of 20 things, but only 20% of that to do list is really going to yield 80% of results for you. So you have to choose what are the most important 20% things on your list and only focus on them, okay? Mindset. You have to learn how to get over yourself. And I say that as someone who has had to learn that and still learning that, how to get over myself. Our insecurities cannot overrule the value that we bring. Some of you will not write that book because you feel you aren't eloquent. You know, there are people who help people write books, right? Some of you feel like you're not good writers. Maybe you're better at audio. So you can't do speech to text. You can't dictate your book and then start the process of editing it. Like, let's not make this like make obstacles huge when they don't have to be huge. There are some of us who, we want to go back to school so that we can better build our businesses, or we want to augment our skills, but then we feel like, okay, we have to spend so much money, we have to do this, we have to do that. When sometimes we have to ask the question, do you really need a, a degree? Can a certificate work? In fact, do you even need a certificate? Can you take a MOOC course, a Mass Open something something course, like Coursera, edX, those set? Because if you just want the knowledge and you don't necessarily need the certification or the degree, why not just take the easier route that will still give you the information that you need? I think sometimes we make obstacles insurmountable when we just haven't turned over something in our head enough to find an alternate way that is possible for us. Okay? And as an entrepreneur, you're going to have to get used to doing that. If the path straight is not clear, sometimes you have to go left and then bank a hard right to get around that obstacle. But you have to be willing to have the mindset that, okay, this is not how I expected it to be, but let me take an alternate path to get to the same end result. Okay? Now, here are some examples as I close of ways to show up. Get your portfolio together. Get your portfolio together. It's very important, can I say it again, that you get your portfolio together. Take headshots. Absolutely take headshots. Some of you need headshots because some of you need flyers. Some of you want to have speaking engagements, and then when somebody asks you for a headshot, you're going to use some horrible photo that's grainy, taken on your camera phone from the front facing camera. If you want the opportunity, prepare yourself for the opportunity. And moving on. Start using that fancy camera phone you have to record content. Start using it to record content, to record videos, to record photos, to take photos. Update your website. Create your flyer, like I said before. Start telling people about what it is that you do. Go network. Go network online. Go network in person. Create a map of how you want your business to look and run in 2024. That includes your goals and your vision. Ask friends and family whose opinion you value to tell you the things that they like about you. And then you get to turn that into, people might say, well, you have such a soothing voice. Okay, well, then maybe you should do some audio content. Or, I really like how you're so honest and raw. Okay, so maybe, if your audience appreciates honesty and you're being truthful, then bring more of your personality into your content and how you show up online and how you speak in person at your speaking engagements, right? Do your research on how you need to show up. Do your research on how people in your industry show up. And then look at other industries. Don't just be beholden to if you are in the marketing industry, and then you're looking at other marketers to see how they communicate. You can also look at the beauty industry. You can look at the fashion industry. You can look at so many different industries to see how you can bring a new twist on what it is that you do. I already spoke about this before, but get your business license, boo. Get your business license, because that is also going to help you be able to take advantage of opportunities that come your way. Lastly, update your resume. Yes, you're a business owner, I know. And there are many, many, many of us who, we've not needed to update our resumes in a long time. Except that sometimes when you are bidding on projects, especially like consulting work, they want your resume. I'm speaking from experience. I've also been one of those people who have written job descriptions for consultancies. They want your resume. They want proof of your degrees, proof of this, proof of that, proof of certifications. Have those on hand, easily and readily available when you are applying for opportunities. Okay? You got this. You can do this. It's 2024. Let's do some things differently. You are capable. I'm about to go into my you is smart, you is important, you is kind, right? But it's true. You're capable. You are 100% capable. Get out of your way. Get help. Ask for help. Listen, you can click on the link that I have in the description box, and then you can go see how I can help you. If you don't want me to help you, that's okay. I'm not offended. Find someone who can help you. Find a mentor if you need one. I think everyone, as much as possible, should have a mentor, right? Um, get help. There's so much help out there. Now, some help you're going to have to pay for, yes. And let me tell you this, you want people to spend money with you, you're going to have to spend money with people. It's a circle, it's just how it goes, okay? Don't expect people to pour into you for free and then you're going to turn around and charge people no pour for your products and services. That's not how it works, okay? Um, you're capable. You are very